You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. We have an exciting show this weekend. I'm so excited. We've got Dr. Vonnya Pettigrew. She's the only black woman that owns a lot of property on the waterfront in Baltimore at the harbor. And she's owned it for a few years now, and I just hadn't had her on my show. I'm excited to be talking to her for Women's History Month. So now let's go to Dr. Julianne Malvo. You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show, Spirit 1340 WICB, and we are here every week. This is our 15th year. Dr. Julianne is every week. She's on with us, and we talk about politics with her. So, Dr. Julianne Malvo, what's going on? Too much for me. I had my TV off, so catch me up.
It is a lot going on. It's an awful lot going on. Let's begin. Let's see. I don't know where to begin, but let's maybe begin with the security breach. On Tuesday, Tulsi Gabbard, Mr. Patel, and many other of the national security wing were testifying before the Senate because they actually were having a chat about war on the internet. Mm-hmm. It was not secured. It was they just running their mouths on the internet. I mean, who does that? But the senators were very angry. I have to shout out John Ossoff, the young senator from Georgia, who was very scathing, and just to put them in their place. And their answer to everything is, I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't remember. Now, those of us who've lived a long time will remember what they did to Hillary about her email server. This is frankly worse, but they don't remember. Mm-hmm. They were on something called Signal, which is some kind of a website. They say it's encrypted, and they were on a group chat. But they included a journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg, from the Atlantic magazine. They included him by mistake, they say, by mistake. Anyway, he got the whole thing, and he, of course, had the common decency not to give up everything. All he said is that they had drones, and they told where the drones were going to be. I mean, Lyndia,
wow.
Seriously? You know, and so...
Crazy.
So the Democratic senator said that this was definitely a security system fail, but the president says, oh, it was just a mistake. It was just a little mistake. They're all trying to play it down. Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, who seems to have been one of the ones who let Mr. Goldberg into the chat, said, oh, I won't do it again. You don't have to do it again. One time was quite enough.
Oh my God, yes.
You know,
because they beat up Hillary for every day, even at the conventions, just over and over, beating Hillary up over that kind of crap.
Right,
wow.
And now they're doing it themselves, and so it is. It's not funny. It's really not funny because this is our national security.
It's dangerous,
but but it's dangerous and it's very challenging. So just saying that. The hearing was on Tuesday. That story is probably going to run through the week. Democrats have no power here. We're now beginning to see how little power Democrats have because they cannot call for a hearing. It will take Mike Johnson, to call for a hearing. And will he do it? Possibly not. But many are saying that some Republicans, rather, are so angry about this that there are Democrats who may join in for this hearing. So we will see. Now, we're tiptoeing into what I call total totalitarianism. Total totalitarianism. In other words, the president is going after law firms who have represented people who are suing him. He's going after... he's on a total revenge tour. A total revenge tour. The worst of it, of course, is some of the law firms who have been progressive, now they're afraid. So a couple of them have offered to support pro bono, which means no pay, Trump supporters, because they feel like nobody wants to be in his crosshairs. And for some of these law firms, they have $1-million, multi-million-dollar retainers from the federal government. They want to keep that. So money is driving all of this. But basically, the total totalitarianism is such that they're shutting people up. They're frightening people and shutting them up. So right now, the NAACP, the American Federation of Teachers, and the NEA are suing the federal government about the closing of the Department of Education. Their lawsuits are being taken seriously up to a point. But who are the lawyers who are defending them? And we won't get the big firms that we used to get. Right. The big firms are running away. So I saw a fellow on CNN early this morning, and he said, well, I have a small firm, and I'm not worried about it. So we need more people like that to say, I'm not worried about it. But a lot of people really are. Then we have the Wisconsin judges race, which is quite interesting. Elon Musk has said he's putting money in to support the Republicans. And there's a Democratic woman who is very good, and she's raising money on the grassroots level. The reason why this will be the most expensive judges race we've seen in who knows when. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars are going into this small race. The sister, the woman, Susan Crawford, has high, basically high marks. They say she's a progressive. I've seen her on YouTube. She seems very good. But this should be a piddly little race. This should not be all this with these hundreds of millions of dollars in it. But as soon as Elon Musk put himself in there, which he's putting himself in everything, and he, as soon as he put himself in there, Susan Crawford said, I've got to raise some money. Because on one hand, this is just a Wisconsin judges race, but on the other hand, it is a referendum on that man. It's a referendum on what he can buy and what he cannot buy. And so that really is where we are. Now, on education as well, we know he's put as I said, these 4 organizations and many others are suing to stop the closing of the Department of Education. Who will be hurt? Poor children, differently able children, black children, so many others. And so they're suing. Also, Columbia University is suing because they have, the federal government has expelled a PhD student from Columbia. And they're saying that he is some kind of an agent because I guess one of his wife's relatives might be a member of Hamas. Well, you can't control your relatives, believe me, we all know that. So essentially, this is a problem, and basically there are many who are fighting back. I want to give a shout-out to the NAACP for doing this because, they're going to be targeted now as well. But the NAACP has been used to being targeted, so this is not the end of their world. Now, that man, also known as the president, says that he said he was not going to cut Social Security. On Tuesday, Elon Musk says they have to cut Social Security. All of us who are listening, you and I are of a certain age, as many others are, we count on our Social Security checks, and guess what? We earn them.
That's
we
right.
put money into the system.
Yes, we did.
So we need to be paying attention. On one hand, you have some Republicans that we're not going to let them cut it. But on the other hand, Musk, who is running the government, really, is saying, well, we have to cut Social Security. Now, the president said he would not cut Social Security or Medicare. Now, both of them seem to be on the chopping block. So we'll have to be paying a lot of attention to that. And then for a lighter note, well, it's not that light, but Yusha Vance, the second lady of the United States, went to Greenland, an area that the orange man would like to take over. How you just going to say you're going to take over somebody's country? Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be so bad. It might be benign if she just went by herself, swaddled in her robes and whatever. But the National Security Advisor, Mr. Walls, was over there as well. What does this mean? To me, Lyndia, the summary of what I have to say today is this: all of these moves that have happened in the last 60 days are what I call the end of imminence. There was a time when everybody in the world bowed down to the United States. They thought we were all of that in a bag of chips. We had civil liberties, we had civil rights, we had all of that. Not perfect, but there. Now what do we have? And so the country is the world is realigning. The euro is likely to become more of a dominant currency. The BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, etc., those countries are likely to play a larger role. And Mr. Trump is basically squandering the work that the United States has done since the end of World War II. Wow. I'll leave it at that.
And I think he's doing it just all because of himself. I mean, just him and his family, so they can be the king forever. Oh, my God. He really wants this.
He's a narcissist. At the end of the day, he's a narcissist. I don't know if you heard about in Colorado. They have a picture of him. They have a picture of all the presidents, former presidents, Barack, Clinton, the Bushes, on a wall somewhere in the Colorado Capitol. Well, he doesn't like his picture. So they're going to have to take it down and replace it with one that he likes. The head of the Republican Party raised the money for his picture, and I saw it. It looks pretty realistic. I mean, his hair is not orange, but that means they did the picture before he used his hair dye. But in any case, petulantly, he wants the picture to come down, so it's coming down. This is narcissism. This is wasting money. This is what we're dealing with.
Yes, it is. All right, Dr. J, I tell you, it's too much, but we're going to take it. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you were able to catch us up on what's going on. Now, we'll talk back to you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care.
All right, we go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired." But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Now we're going to go to our second guest. I am so pleased to be here with you today with the woman they say owns a city block on the harbor down in Baltimore. I am so pleased to have with you Miss Vonnya Pettigrew. Pettigrew, she is a company, her company is called Root Branch Management. Is that right, Vonnya?
Root Branch Media.
Root Branch Media, named after a street down in her home state of South Carolina. And I just want to let everybody know that I met her a couple of years ago when I was on a book project, and I wouldn't want to get into that because that'll take too long, but I am so thrilled. She had just moved into her space maybe in only a couple of months when we came over there to do our project. Vonnya, now if you go to your news stations, you'll see her on there as the only woman on the harbor who owns the entire city block, and the only black woman who has a business on the city block. But she has been doing so many things with the school system and other organizations. She didn't just start when she bought that building. Talk to us today for Women's History Month, and you are truly a woman of history. Talk to us a little bit about your journey.
So, Lyndia, first, let me just thank you for having me on the show. When we met, at this point, maybe almost 2.5, almost 3 years ago,
yes.
Like you said, I was only a few months into moving into the property, and we connected so deeply that day that I'm truly honored to be a guest on your show because you're a legend in the game as well. So an honor to be on your show for this Women's History, tribute. So, yeah, I am Dr. Vonnya Pettigrew, CEO of Root Branch Media Group, the media mogul, as I am affectionately known as, and also the woman who bought the block on Baltimore's harbor. So essentially, Root Branch is a full-service media communications firm, 19 years in business, 100% owned and operated by me as an African-American woman. And a year ago, I purchased that property back in November. So we've now celebrated 1 year of ownership. And to be 1 year in, so much has developed in that building and in the space. We've named it the RBMG building, Canton Harbor. RBMG stands for our initials, Root Branch Media Group. But it also consists of not only our Media Group studios, which is our primary business, which operates on the first level, but on our second level, we have offices that are available for lease, and we do that through our company, Root Branch Office Solutions, which is a property management company to manage the tenants in the building, as well as people who request to book our space for their events or their staff meetings and professional developments and retreats. So we then took it a step further and launched a coffee company, Root Branch Press Coffee & Co., with the vision of building out a coffee shop on the front corner of our building where, is open to the public and, can have that street side, curbside access.
Oh, my goodness, I was wondering, because I told my daughter about it. I said, but Tanika's our makeup artist. She did the makeup for us. Yeah. My daughter lives in Arizona. I said, but it would be good if she could have curbside, but I can't figure that out. But you already did. Go ahead.
We already figured that out. So we launched a coffee product. So the coffee is in the marketplace. It's called Root Branch Press Coffee & Co. And so we drink Root Branch inside the building every day. on set of our productions, and, companies also buy the product, B2B. So there's opportunity there. And then lastly, as you know, we have our 501c3 arm, which supports a lot of our education learning program, because as you know, through our Film Academy, which we've been doing now for 15 years, we have over 40 media arts instructors that go in and out of schools through our contract with Baltimore City Public School, Baltimore County Public School, and Prince George's County Public Schools, teaching film, photography, and media arts. Yep.
Oh, my God. So that's why I called you about partnering with my foundation. I'm the president of the Gamma Phi Delta Foundation, Incorporated, and it is an educational opportunity. And you just said what I need to hear, but we're going to meet and talk about that some more. I just want you all to know, listeners, she has been featured on so many television stations and get so many awards. I want to understand about Frederick Douglass and the community that you are from. Talk to me about how that, because I thought Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman were from down there by the waterfront, but you sound like it's something near where you are. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so again, my building sits in Canton on the waterfront. And if you know anything about the great, Marylanders like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass specifically, he lived in a community called Fells Point. And Fells is just a few blocks over from Canton, but it all, sits on the perimeter of the harbor and the waterfront. And during Frederick's days, obviously he was a slave at the time, and he worked on the ships right here on the water as a ship caulker, and he escaped slavery on the ships right outside. And so here it is these years later, my building sits in that same community. I literally look out at the marina every single day from my office window, and it's just, it never misses me, that not only was it became noted as a historical and monumental purchase, being the first African-American woman in the state of Maryland to own a block on the waterfront, but to really let that set in and to think about the fact that this is where we were literally slaves, where we were literally the property. Now a Black woman owns the property.
Oh, my goodness.
Every day, everything that we
just
do,
a blessing.
It's a blessing, and it's meaningful, and everything we produce, and every guest who comes through this door, it's a historical moment, and they relish in that legacy, and it's such a sense of pride and something that we can really take honor as we honor our ancestors.
Well, next question. Dr. Vonnya, your family owns some land in South Carolina. Talk to me briefly about that.
Yes, so I am a native of Philadelphia, North Philadelphia particularly, but both my mother and my father are from very, very rural towns in South Carolina. And on both sides of my family, they're landowners, business owners. So I come from a legacy of land ownership, right? But on my mother's side of the line, the name of the property where our family lives is called Root Ranch Road. And so when I had the idea to start a company, I asked the elders at the time of my family, would it be okay if I named my company after our family's land? Never did we ever imagine that it would grow to
so
what it
much.
was going to be. Yes, and putting that Root Ranch name on a global platform, coming from rural South Carolina in the Low Country.
That's why I wanted you on for Women's History Month, because you're doing so much, and I know the folks over in Baltimore know, but I'm going to be sharing this because you know how we do. It's a radio show, but I treat it like it's a podcast, and I try to promote it every way I can and send it out. But I am truly proud of the work that you're doing, and I'm so happy that I've been inside of the facility. She's got spaces for recording. She's got studios for receptions. We had a panel discussion on the couches. She can turn. It's like a mini Tyler Perry studio, only it's just a little small place. She's got a whole lot of stuff going on in there, and I'm happy that I was there.
Y'all were literally one of my first productions out of the stage, so it was truly an honor. And because the project featured all women, Black women specifically, I mean, that in and of itself was a historical moment.
Yes, indeed. So I am so glad to be hooked back up with you again. I should have had you on a long time ago, but I'm a Romans 8:28 girl, which says, and I know that all things work together for the good to them who love God and who are the called according to his purpose. So this is in time. We're talking on the show today for Women's History Month. Listeners, we don't have long. Our time is just about up. But I wanted you to meet Dr. Vonnya Pettigrew. She has the largest building on the harbor over there in Baltimore, which is a city block. And if you get a chance, look her up. Look up YouTube, Dr. Vonnya Pettigrew, Root Branch Management Media. Thank you so much for being my guest today, Dr. Vonnya.
Yes. Thank you so much. This was lovely. Happy Women's History Month, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much. And we'll be talking to you again. Let's stay right there for my close. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show here on Spirit 1340 WYCB. We are so happy to bring you good programming each and every week. And we always close by saying, words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect. So be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So from the Lyndia Grant Show, think on these things. Until next week, good day.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Be still and know that I am God. Psalms 46:10. Leave the stress of everyday life behind. Listen, a raging storm is stilled by the voice of God. A babbling brook carves a trail through the woods. The Creator talks to you and with you about His creations. It is music, God's music. God's heaven and earth is the orchestra. His creatures are the singers. His word, pure and honest, is the message. Be still and listen so that you can hear the voice of the Lord. And He said, know that I am God.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561. Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Ida B. Wells, born into enslavement, was a journalist and activist. An avid reader, she read through the entire Bible many times. Wells was once asked to leave the ladies' car and sit in the colored train. She refused and train officials pushed her. Ida B. Wells retaliated but was pushed off the train at the next stop. A crowd of whites applauded. She vowed to get even. 3 of her close friends were lynched for opening businesses that cut into profits of whites. Everything changed for Wells. She spoke out internationally against lynching of blacks for the rest of her life. Through her efforts, lynching in America nearly disappeared by the time of her death. And NAACP founder, we salute Ida B. Wells for Women's History Month.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
Thank you for listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.